Да! Да!
Що там? Що там?
Все, нога, блядь, пацаны. Все.
Ага.
Я все, братан. Я все.
The Pentagon approved sending Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine amid an immediate response from the Kremlin. The Pentagon just gave the green light. Long-range Tomahawk missiles can now be sent to Ukraine. The final decision lies in the hands of one man, Donald Trump. But while Washington deliberates, the Kremlin does not wait. Putin's response was immediate and bold, one that few believed possible. Russian jets, defying all conventions, tore through the airspace of the Western Alliance. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a detour. It was a clear message, a deliberate show of force over the most powerful military alliance in the world. 12 full minutes over Estonia, an eternity for air defense reaction time. Kyiv suffered a devastating attack with over 400 drones and missiles causing deaths and destruction. And while Alliance jets were scrambled at maximum alert, the sky over Kyiv turned into hell. Over 430 drones and 18 missiles, including hypersonic Kinjal, rained down on the capital. An attack on a scale not seen in months. Entire residential buildings turned to dust. Sirens echoed over the screams. The death toll began to rise. 6 in Kyiv, 8 in total, dozens injured. One single night of calculated terror with over 300 warheads. The release of Tomahawks by the Pentagon did not bring deterrence. It brought immediate and brutal escalation. And this leads us to an inconvenient truth about this war. The Pentagon releases Tomahawk missiles as Russia provokes with massive attacks and airspace breach over Estonia. Are you ready to question the narrative you were told? If the Western Alliance is so united and determined, why does an entire faction of the US government openly support getting closer to the man behind these attacks? Don't be afraid of the answer. Here, your opinion won't be censored. Just a reminder, this report is based on news from Sky News, The New York Times, BBC, The Guardian, Al Jazeera, Sputnik, RT News, and Telegram. But before we get into the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Your subscription means a lot and helps you stay updated on every story about the raging nations. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up to help this project grow even more.
Только свое бери, уходи! Бросай, бросай, братан! Я своих полетел!
Russia's war machine is moving, relentless. In recent days, not one but several villages have fallen. Yablukove, Danilivka, Sladkoe, Novoye. Names meaningless to most, but representing meters of land gained at a huge human cost. A methodical conquest, village by village. The epicenter of this offensive is the strategic city of Pokrovsk. Russia has gathered over 100,000 troops there, a massive force determined to seize this industrial hub at any cost. But Ukrainian resistance has been fierce, turning each Russian advance into a bloodbath. The attack on Kyiv in the early hours of November 14th was not an isolated act. It was the centerpiece of a much larger campaign. Russia's Ministry of Defense didn't hide it, calling it a massive attack. And when you analyze the pattern, the intention becomes clear. It's not just about military gains. It's about psychological terror. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres condemned the attacks on civilians. Russia is accused of using scorched earth tactics, but the condemnations seem to have no effect. The Russian ambassador in Romania was confronted, yet Moscow's strategy remains unchanged. Officially, Russia targets only military sites, but the numbers tell a different story. Ukraine's air defense, in a heroic night, shot down 93 threats, including Kinzhal missiles. But the question no one is asking is, if 93 were intercepted, how many were launched in total? The answer reveals the true scale of the operation. Russia's war machine advances, capturing villages at high human cost near Pokrovsk with fierce resistance. As the world watches the Russian advance, something is cracking on the other side of the front line. Something the mainstream media hesitates to show. In Kyiv, an entire Ukrainian brigade, equipped and trained by the West, simply laid down its arms. A mass surrender that raises deep questions. Why? Why do soldiers, after 3 years of brutal war, decide to stop fighting? The answer may lie in an opinion piece that few dared to publish: 3 years of war and zero success in neutralizing Russia's old but effective Soviet bombs. Western aid arrives, but the bombs keep falling. And while soldiers die on the front lines, a corruption scandal explodes in Kyiv. A former associate of President Zelensky is accused in a multi-million-dollar scheme. Coincidence? Maybe. But in wartime, coincidences often have names and last names. Ukraine can't afford to have internal enemies. But the most devastating testimony comes from those who lived through hell. Ukrainian veterans, men who fought in the worst battles, are saying out loud, the Western alliance is not prepared for a war with Russia. They claim that Western training is suited for conflicts like Iraq and Afghanistan, not the carnage they face every day. Do these veterans know something the generals in Brussels don't? Or worse, do they know something the alliance doesn't want to admit? The truth is, drone warfare, relentless artillery, and the scale of combat in Ukraine are a nightmare no Western simulation prepared them for. And that brings us to the weapons game. Ukrainian soldiers surrender en masse. Corruption breaks out in Kyiv. Veterans warn the alliance is unprepared. The Pentagon's decision to approve Tomahawk missiles with a range of 1,500 kilometers and a 500-kilogram warhead seems like a game changer. But Trump's final decision is uncertain. And there's a critical technical detail. Ukraine currently lacks the platforms to launch these missiles. A release that may be purely symbolic. And here, the story gains a new layer of complexity. While Ukraine pleads for Tomahawks, its own engineers have developed a weapon that surpasses the American missile. Its name is Flamingo, and its specs are impressive. A range of 3,000 kilometers and a warhead of over 1 ton. Twice the range, twice the power. The Flamingo is not a prototype. It's already in production. It's already being used in deep attacks inside Russian territory. So why the insistence on Tomahawks? The answer may not lie in capability, but in the political message sent by American weapon shipments. A message Russia seems to be ignoring. And Russia is not alone. North Korean troops have been seen arriving in Russian territory, officially for demining work. But the presence of Pyongyang soldiers in the theater of operations is a clear sign that Moscow's coalition is expanding while the West debates. While diplomats and generals play this geopolitical chess with weapons and allies, tension on the alliance's borders reaches a boiling point. Moscow's rhetoric has become a double-edged sword. At one moment, they claim no plans to attack the alliance. The next, they promise a full-force response to any provocation. Which phase is the real one? Pentagon's Tomahawk decision hinges on Trump, but Ukraine develops much stronger Flamingo missile already in production. Actions speak louder than words. The Russian jets that violated the airspace of Lithuania and Estonia weren't strategic bombers, but they were a test of reaction time, of the alliance's resolve. And the response, though quick, exposed how close danger really is. Spanish and Italian jets were deployed to escort the intruders out. But the threat doesn't come only from manned jets. A hybrid war is already underway. Mysterious drones, suspected to be Russian, have been detected flying over alliance countries. Drone fragments fell in Romania. Belgium asked the UK for help. Europe is considering building a drone wall for protection. Russia, in turn, claims it's simply responding to the alliance's military buildup on its borders. It's a spiral of accusations and mobilizations. Both sides are preparing for something they say they don't want. The question hanging in the air is, who will misread the next move? While generals move pieces on this dangerous chessboard, the real war, the one that may decide Ukraine's fate, is being fought in the halls of power in Washington and Brussels. And the Western alliance is showing deep and disturbing cracks. US Vice President J.D. Vance shocked European allies. He not only defended Donald Trump's rapprochement with Vladimir Putin, but also openly criticized the European Union, calling it an obstacle to peace. A statement that sounds like music to the Kremlin and betrayal to Kyiv. North Korean troops arrive in Russia while the alliance faces hybrid threats and tensions reach boiling point. According to Vance, Trump's energy diplomacy and direct dialogue with Putin are the only way forward. He speaks of a Trump doctrine that mixes strength with negotiation. But European allies remember the Alaska summit in August, where Trump seemed to agree with Putin to seek a deal without a prior ceasefire. That position directly runs over Ukraine and its European partners, who demand the withdrawal of Russian troops as a condition for any serious negotiation. The division within US leadership is no longer a theory. It's a fact, and a dangerous one. And as if to add a strange layer to this political drama, a bizarre incident occurred. Right after a key alliance summit, the plane of US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth had to make an emergency landing. Coincidence? Probably. But in wartime, coincidences are viewed with suspicion. But the war has already crossed Ukraine's borders in even more concrete ways. In France, the nation is on alert. Unidentified drones breached the airspace over a strategic munitions factory, Urenco, not once, but twice in the same week. Who is operating these drones? No one knows, or at least no one is saying. France, a nuclear power, finds itself vulnerable to small unmanned aircraft flying over its most critical defense infrastructure. The war in Ukraine is exporting its tactics to the heart of Europe. Russian jets breach airspace testing the alliance, which reacts fast, but danger remains imminent. The overall picture is frighteningly complex. Russia advances on the ground. Using brute force, the West seems unable to fully stop. Each week, new villages fall, and massive missile and drone attacks remind everyone of the firepower Moscow still holds. The details of the weapons reveal a parallel technological war. Ukraine, with its innovative Flamingo missile, shows impressive development capacity, surpassing iconic weapons like the Tomahawk in specs. Proof that Ukrainian resilience is also technological. However, that resilience is tested daily. The pressure on the front line is immense. Reports of units laying down arms, even if isolated, indicate extreme exhaustion. And internal corruption erodes trust, a poison as deadly as Russian bombs. The soldiers returning from the front bring a grim warning. They, who know the reality of modern combat, look at the alliance and see a powerful force unprepared for this specific kind of conflict. A war where a $1,000 drone can destroy a multi-million-dollar tank. The tension with the alliance is a poker game with nuclear weapons on the table. Airspace violations and aggressive rhetoric are calculated bets. Each side tests the other's limits, walking a tightrope between deterrence and disaster. And no one seems willing to back down first. US Vice President supports Trump's ties with Putin and criticizes European Union, shocking European partners. And it is the fracture in Western diplomacy that emerges as the most dangerous factor of all. The dissonance between the US Vice President's statements and the official policy of European allies creates a leadership vacuum. A vacuum that Putin knows exactly how to exploit. While America debates its role, Russia is cementing new alliances. The arrival of North Koreans, even for secondary tasks, is a powerful symbol. It shows that Moscow is not isolated and is willing to seek help wherever needed. 3 years of war, thousands dead, billions in military aid, and still the end seems farther than ever. Russia keeps advancing, Ukraine keeps resisting, the alliance keeps hesitating, and mysterious drones fly over Europe. Maybe the real question isn't who will win this war. Veterans who fought in hell say the West is not prepared for what comes next. American politicians defend dialogue with the aggressor. Maybe the real question is, what comes after? Western diplomacy splits, Russia strengthens alliances, and war spreads to Europe with drone incursions. Are you ready to question the narrative you've been told? If the Western alliance is so united and determined, why does an entire faction of the US government openly support getting closer to the man behind these attacks? Don't fear the answer. Here, your opinion won't be censored. Thanks so much for sticking around until the end of the video. You're awesome, and I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any updates on the raging nations. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up to help this project grow even more.